Hello to all my running fans, throwing fans, jumping fans, all around athletics fans. If you are here, you have found yourself at the right place, the Talking in Ovals podcast. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to it. This, not Monday. We are recording on a Tuesday. We had some difficulties. Well, not we. I did recording. So Tuesday, November 22nd of 2022 is when this is being recorded. Before we get into anything fun, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, and give us a word of mouth. Tell everybody that likes running in general. Greatest running show you'll ever hear for many reasons, but one of them is my guest over here. What's up, Hyatt?
Not much. I'm just grateful that our fans don't have to listen to me and you talk the whole time this week.
Yeah, last week was fun though. I feel like
I enjoyed it.
We didn't do that early on. I think me and you were so gung-ho to get the show going, and we really just wanted to start talking about track, and we had some fun stuff to talk about with Worlds and everything going on, and then the Euros and all that. So we just jumped right into it. But if you missed it last week, go ahead, Dave.
I also want to give a quick shout out to two of our past guests, Mr. Wilfredo Rivera and Adam Malvin, for running in Philly on Saturday in the cold wind. Will got his goal of breaking 3 hours. I think Adam ran 3:08. Still not as good as our guest today's premier time that he ran it, but we can talk about that later.
I mean, you could have held that for the send us your PR section. You jumped the gun.
I did. I was just pumped.
That's
it was cold, windy, and they did well.
Hey, sub 3 hours and 3:08 is not a shabby time at all. But overall, last week we had a great show. Me and Hyatt we got in our feels a little, maybe depressed a few people, but with our stories, because they're not glorious running stories, but you know what, they're ours. And it's what we make of it, and we still enjoy it. But this week, we're going to uplift you with our guest because, like Hyatt said, and I think there's a theme that everyone needs to notice here. We've had a whole bunch of Dave's friends. Dave has some freaking awesome friends, man. They're all still running fans. A bunch of them are coaches. And, it kind of talks about who Dave is with the people that he keeps. And if you haven't noticed, we've had none of my friends on here. So let's just juxtapose that. I'm just kidding. But our guest this week, Steve Geiger, he was a part of 2 Big East winning 4x8 relays. He anchored one of them, which is no slouch. And he won IC4As in the relay and also was a 6-time All-East champion and also now coach over at Lacey Township in New Jersey. What's going on, Steve?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Dave, for having me on. I'm excited to be here. Talk a little bit of track and field.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting because, like I said, your story in running is much different than ours. Now, it's not to take away anything because, me and Dave, we had our successes and, we ran well, but certain things kind of derailed us. But you have a good story. You were a really good high school runner. You had a good college career, and now you're having a good coaching career. I really want to delve into that. So we like to do with a lot of our guests, kind of go back, give us a little bit of when you were like, this running thing might be good for me. Was there ever were you set on another sport and you just ran fast one day and you're like, yeah, I could do this? Kind of go back and kind of tell us what's up with that. How did you get into all this?
Oh, well, I came from a very, very big soccer family, and I have an older brother, younger sister. We've been very, very competitive with each other over these years. My brother, Mark Geiger, a FIFA referee, retired now from the field, but, made it to the pinnacle of his sport. My sister has a NCAA championship in soccer with TCNJ. So, the competition in the family was always big. And, I did the youth soccer. My mother, Queen of Beechwood Soccer, as we say, was the coach there. And then I got to middle school and I didn't make the middle school team. So devastating. But then a couple of days, looked to see what was else out there and saw cross country. So that was my introduction to the sport, which, growing up as a team sport athlete all these times was kind of fun. because it was just me out there in a sense, and my performance meant everything. First race, I actually won that one. And I think that I was hooked at that point.
That's freaking awesome. That's always good. It's always good to hear like what kind of hooks everyone, because it's different for everyone, right? Some people it's, you went from a team sport to an individual and then you had success, and that's fantastic. So you get older, you get into high school, and there was a long time there where South was really stacked, and South continues to be a good school, competitive school. But I think you guys kind of personified like the golden years, your kind of time there. You guys were really, really freaking good. Talk about high school and what it was like being a part of that type of team, and kind of, I didn't ask anyone else, but kind of the expectation of kind of being there and having to run XC and be successful each time and be a top scoring guy each time, to kind of go into a little bit of your high school career.
Yeah. So going in as a freshman, we had a very solid freshman group coming in, and our coach's philosophy at that time, I think they kept maintaining it, was to keep us as freshmen as much as we can. So the varsity did their races, and we ran the 2 mile in almost every race we could. And we won the county freshman title. We won these other, probably the short coaches won. We were competitive with CBA at that point for the class races. And until we got to the sectional time and they gave us an opportunity to make the varsity squad, me and one of my other teammates were able to do that. And then it was just having that group move forward. Dave came in the next year and with another couple of strong athletes, and we really grew as a team. Everyone was very similar in our times. So we competed amongst each other, but only to raise our levels. So we saw really good success, just missed a county title my sophomore year, Dave's freshman year.
I went over that last week. We lost. We kind of will get more.
We'll get more into that later. But
we actually tied Tom DeReese. But you know what? We used the sixth man as a tiebreaker, and our sixth man, I believe, was 1 second behind.
1 second behind their guy.
1 second and one place. So that was awesome. I mean, that part wasn't great, but you could tell that we were definitely building something really, really good at that time.
So if you guys want to laugh a little, it's kind of funny, you guys talk about, the coaching philosophy of, keeping the freshmen as long as they can. I feel like as I got into school, I'm kind of like a full generation behind you guys. All the Tom Zivers kind of started having that philosophy. Like I think East did it, North did it, South did it. And that kind of pissed me off because I was a pretty good runner my freshman year. I didn't kind of blossom until outdoor freshman year. I became a very good runner, but indoor, I was still a little scrawny kid trying to break 5 minutes. And then you had these really good freaking Tom Ziver kids that were already broke 5 minutes in middle school, were monsters running in all the frost off races. And I'm like, get them the hell out of here. Get them out of this race. Like, this is doing nothing for them. Like, get them away from us. But
I was one of those kids. All right. I was the MVP of the freshman meet and the sophomore meet.
I did have
that was the pinnacle of my running career.
I had my successes in frost off, and I became friends, especially, I became friends with a lot of the Tom Ziver guys, because as much as Manchester's a redheaded stepsister, we have a lot of similarities within our area. And I did become friendly with a lot of those guys. I knew if I saw them, I'd be like, all right, this one's not an easy win. I'm going to actually have to race today. This kind of sucks. So it was fun. It was lots of fun.
Yeah. And I mean, on the track side, I did enter high school. I was 5'3", 85 pounds. I have a little ID thing stating that, so I could always go back and show people I was this little guy coming in. I was a 2 miler. And then sophomore year, I shot up to, I was going to my junior year as 5'11".
Big growth spurt. Yep.
It was a rough year, but I came out of it as an 800 person, a runner, newfound speed, had the turnover. It's just now with the little added stride length and all that. So that's really where my strength lied, was more towards the track. Yeah. Obviously, we were still successful in cross country.
Right. Like, for instance, like I could beat Steve in cross country, but in the track, I didn't.
Dave and I went back. We had a book of all.
Our old coach made a thick book for every season, and he wrote like Like
we sat there, went race to race to see who beat who. And it came out 50-50. I think to the dot. And
cross country, yes. No, but the funny story is because, like Steve was a miler and a 2 miler. And then all of a sudden, I think they said, wow, like sophomore or junior, we're going to put him in a 400. And he ran really, really fast. So then our coach changed his name from Steve Geiger to Speed Geiger. And he was never I don't think he ran another 3,200 after that point.
One time.
Is there a coaching philosophy that take our smallest guy that runs distance and make him do 2 miles only? Like, why is that? Is it so they don't get pushed around in the weeds and like the faster races where there's a little bit of elbowing and pushing? Because it's every single scrawny little kid gets thrown into the 2 mile if they want to run distance. Like, you're a coach now, Steve. What is that part of your philosophy? Like, hey, he weighs under 100 pounds with a wet sweatshirt on. Let's go make him run 8 laps and maybe he'll grow.
Yeah, that's why I walk the hallways. I look for the little guy, because we need 2 milers. But no, I think that's what they look for. Less people there. People try to avoid it as much as they can early on in high school. So they find their own little niche.
Certainly a niche. So talk a little bit more about high school. Talk about any, high school successes.
Junior year is when he really just started to
Junior year was the start of it. Yeah. In the 800s, things started to come down and click. Penn Relays was always that big one for us. We did qualify as that team. And I think most people put their races together that day. Our top guy just had an off one because he ran 15 shortly. Was it the 15 there? Dave?
Yeah, he ran the 1500.
It was a 1500
Friday night, and then 4x8 was always early Saturday morning. So he was about 5 or 6 seconds off his PR, and I think we still ran like 8:03. So
right, that was the first time I broke 2 minutes. Yeah, in the 8.
I think I was like 2:02, or
right. And then the next year, Penn was the next time I broke through 157 and 49 in that one as well.
See, it's like me and you went on a similar track, I think, because junior year is when I broke out in the 800 as well. But it was mine was kind of injury force because I basically was like, well, roll my ankle every single time I try and run long. So let's just shorten this up. I have a little speed. And that's when I had a few breakthroughs that year. Were you at the high school my junior year? You were my senior year, right? You weren't there when I won county and conference, right?
I was there your senior year sprint.
Senior year sprint, yeah, because the junior year, I will always say, I got lucky in both the counties and conferences. They left it up to kickers because that was me. But yeah, I had a 158 my junior year, and it was, wasn't the same after that. But yeah,
conference champ though.
I am county and conference champ. They can't take it away. One of the slowest conference champions, 159 low, but I'll take it. Not calling home about that one. But yeah, so you had your success there. You carried into senior year.
So into senior year too. Yeah, that's, you talk about the coaches and what they see or pick. We're doing a warm-up hurdles on the track. I just start going over a couple. Coach yells out, Geiger, you're a 400 hurdler now. So they moved me to the sprint coach. And I got third in counties in the 400 hurdles in one season. And, good times. It was a fun event.
But
I wasn't allowed to go anywhere near the hurdles. Chef would kill me.
But that same senior year, we go into the Ocean County meet, and our other teammate, Chris Creer, he was the heavy favorite in the 16 and the 800. And
800 is the first event of the day.
Wasn't it a 2-day meet then?
It was a 2-day meet, yes.
So 1600 was the day prior. And
the order is way different than it is now. No. It was in the middle of that day.
32 was the day.
Yes.
Prior. All right. So he runs the 8, and Chris Greer gets second. He's beat by his teammate, Stephen Geiger, who gets first.
Surprised him on the backstretch a little bit. And that's the thing. Chris was always someone, and it was a nice thing for me in high school was I was not the guy. Chris was the guy. So I was always able to sit back a little bit, not have all that pressure on me, and just have someone to train with who's better than me. And I can just latch on to and have that help me get to levels I wasn't expecting earlier on, and that I was able to eventually get to.
Yeah, because that year Chris won MOC in the 800.
Which is incredible. That's, meet champs. And we'll talk about meet champs a little bit later.
But he wasn't county champ.
No, not counting. So let's go on to college a little. So you end up walking on at Rutgers. Now, you were a pretty good high school runner. So what was it like? Did you have interest from other colleges and you just wanted to go to Rutgers and chose it? Were you not really active in trying to pursue running anywhere else? So what was that reasoning for going there? Because you were definitely fast enough to probably get money at other places.
In terms of the recruiting process, I wasn't sending out anything, contacting any coaches. So it's a lot more of them are doing this now, easier for them with mile splits to also contact others. So I was I'm going to Rutgers. I was staying in New Jersey. I got sick during the winter season, so I had a gap in there, which I just was able to come back and then finish off fairly well. So if coaches were looking at that point, not too much to see. And then going to Rutgers, I was back and forth of either giving it a shot, and eventually with Chris was going there as well. I'm like, I'll try out. I'll go out, see what it's like, and if not, I can always go back and do intramurals because the intramural program there is tremendous.
Yep.
Go back to soccer and things I grew up with.
Mm-hmm. So, tell us about the time trial, because apparently you said you ran an awful time trial. Yes. So tell us about that.
It was embarrassingly bad. They did a 4-mile time trial going in the end of summer. So I got to show up there, and I thought I was doing a pretty decent summer. And I don't know what happened. I ran distance runs faster than I ran this 4-mile. And somehow Coach Mulqueen kept me on. I thank him for that. He knew who I was in terms of the 800 and those events. So I think he had some hope for me in the end.
Your reputation preceded you and kind of saved you there.
In terms of other schools, I think Monmouth was the only school that contacted me.
Okay.
And was offering money. And I was already said, I'm going to Rutgers, and that was that.
All right. So let's go in a little more, because you kind of talk about how early on in your career at Rutgers, a lot of good practice times, not being able to put it really together, but then you had a lot of late success. Delve into that, because that's interesting, because the way when I hear you talk about that, it kind of, you could have easily been like, a lot of good practice times, I'm going to pack it in mentally because this kind of sucks. But you persevered. Kind of talk about all that going on, because I think that's valuable for young runners now to hear, like, keep digging. So go ahead. Yeah.
So, you get stuck in a group where all these guys on a team are better than you, that have run times that are better than you. But just the background is, I'm going to put myself in with them and run with them. And at practices, you're running these times and you're running these workouts where I'm not thinking about what the time is going to be at the end, but I finish and I'm like, wow, that's less faster in like a 1200 than I've ever run before. Couldn't race that last year. And here, you got to do it again, and you do it again. So constantly you're running these things and these workouts, which you didn't think was going to be possible. And race times came down. It's just, I came to the spring season, my body was spent. So I struggled through, got to it, took a good recovery period, and put together a really, really good summer. I thought I put in good summers, but, I just committed to that. And sophomore year is the year I took off.
Any fear of getting cut when you were a freshman and not really, putting up times you maybe thought you should have been putting up after the workouts you were doing? Or was there a lot of encouragement and good coaching going on? Like, we know what you can do, you just have to do it type of deal?
Yeah, not at that point. The time trials, the practices showed that I was going to be capable to do this. So they put me in different spots that I was able to compete. It wasn't that you're not doing it in this meet, so I wasn't being brought to every single one. Obviously there's some spots and relays I wouldn't be on, but no, I was still being able to travel enough running fast enough to make it onto the travel team, but not scoring or doing the things that I was, you would hope to do based on what some of the practices were looking like.
So you mentioned, how it was like to train with people who were faster, who were better.
Yeah.
What was it like training with someone who was in the Olympics?
Yeah, that's where. Well, that's going into my sophomore year. We had Balázs Karani he's dual citizen, Hungary, went to school in Maryland.
Yep.
He came off European tour when I was going to my freshman year. First race in a Rutgers uniform. I was in a 500. Balázs is in my heat, and I beat him.
It's incredible.
He had a stress fracture. And it was basically running on one leg.
Still incredible.
Yeah. I didn't really speak too much of the rest of the year. And then sophomore year, he saw what I was doing. I became really good friends that year with Balázs. And so we go to our time trial, and it's like, hey, Geiger, remember our first race we ran? I'm like, yeah, Balázs, I beat you. Like, never going to happen again. He was right. He was right.
So I have 146 though. I mean,
he won 145 after college, 146.
Wow.
He was the Hungarian national record holder.
And he placed in the NCAAs, right?
Yeah, he got third place at NCs.
Wow. 146 will do it. So I have to ask you, and I asked this to a lot of former Rutgers runner, do you have different PRs for the Rutgers track as opposed to every other track on the planet? Because that wind tunnel was easily my least favorite place to run in the history of running, because I feel like every time on the backstretch, I was actually just running in the air.
Yeah, it's rough. You
have to have a different PR there than anywhere else.
And talking to my athletes at practices, I'm talking about, we're running a 500, or we're doing 300s. We go to that track. We knew where are we starting for each thing based on the wind direction of that day.
And it's like in Princeton sucks because Princeton has that backstretch that's miserable, but man, Rutgers is worse. I'm sorry. Like, in Rutgers is beautiful. The track is gorgeous. The facility's great, but it's like, I don't know, cut down all those trees, do something, figure it out, because any time we're going to Rutgers to race. I went to Marist. I think I raced at Rutgers twice, and every time it's like, 3 seconds slower than my PR. I'm expecting this 100%. So
yeah, the nice part is first race of the year for the spring season at Rutgers. They brought Big East there a couple times, but didn't have to race there very much. Always good.
The other part was like the indoor track there was in the bubble where the football team trained. So it was like 328 meters, right? It was a big indoor track.
Yeah. It had a weird starting points
like 4 lanes.
For everything. 4 lanes. If you're in lane 4, it felt like you had to duck a little bit because the edge of the bubble is angling in on you.
So it certainly wasn't designed with runners in mind.
No, it's all about football.
Oh yeah. So let's go back into your college career. So you end up having a lot of success at your college career, being a part of, Rutgers at the time was in the Big East, 2 Big East championships in the 4x8, winning IC4As, which people don't know, if you're not really from this region, IC4As is huge in our area, and it's a big race to win. Winning IC4As is huge. And you have all 6 All East awards. Kind of talk about what it was like getting into that and competing against some really freaking good runners in the Big East, a lot of fast people, and being a part, 744, 4x8, indoor.
Yeah. They're at 725 or 26.
722 outdoors.
Incredible. Yeah. Talk about all that, because that's fast running, man.
Yeah. That's a lot of it started that sophomore year with the crew that we had indoors when we won the IC4A championships. Coincidentally, it was in Princeton. And it was 3 sophomores and a freshman.
Wow.
So this is where our group kind of was coming together and showed up that day. Balázs was getting ready for NCAAs. He didn't race. Our other top 800 guy ran the open one, didn't run the relay. And trials, I was a nervous wreck. We just want to qualify. That's all my goal was. And then the finals, I'm like, I just got to beat one team. Get one beat, you get All East if you beat one team. And we end up winning it. So, this is something that was unexpected and fun. And just with that group of guys, we couldn't ask for too much more. Then outdoors is where that first Big East championship happened. That's where there was usually the third leg. And going into that one was the first time coach put me on the anchor. So big spot, got the baton in the lead. Georgetown, they're all Americans, getting the baton right behind me.
Yep.
I'm like, don't make it easy for them. And it just became a final 100 sprint to the finish. And fortunately, I was able to pull that one out.
That's always so freaking exciting. So what was your collegiate PR?
I split a 149. I was 150, I believe, .11 from the gun.
When it comes to things like that, that split counts, okay? When it comes to something like sub 150, that is fast running, man. That's really, really good stuff. That's you're the second fastest 800-meter runner that's ever been on this show.
I heard Mike Rutt. Yeah.
Mike Rutt was on there, but that's no slouch right there. 150, 149. Whew.
I also think that his best race ended up being the 500.
500
indoors.
Well, I ran some good ones in practice. I'll tell you that much on the outdoor season. But indoors, I was 62 in the 500 there. I probably would have been stretched out. Would have been better though for me.
That's moving. So no slouch. And Rutgers has a proud tradition of having some really good runners. They continue, and Coach Jelly's doing a fantastic job over there recruiting and doing a really good job over there. So that's lots of fun. So now you finish college.
Yep.
Did you always want to be a coach? Because this is always the fun question of, we had Wilfredo on here and he was like, yeah, no need to coach. I didn't want to do it. And now look at him. And so when you came out, was this something you were looking to do, or is it what kind of like, I'll coach if it falls in my lap type of deal?
Well, I didn't study to be a teacher. So I graduated economics degree and I was a minor in statistics. And so I was looking at possible things to do after it. I wasn't too anxious in getting to my career yet, but it was always something in the back of my mind that I can get to. And coaching was something that really interested me, unlike Will. Education seemed good. And then it was like the bonus that I'd be able to coach, pass on to these other athletes, youngsters, the things that I was able to get out of the sport.
And that's lots of fun. And you've had lots of success over there at Lacey. Kind of talk about all the things, because we talked earlier, you rattled on and you have a lot of success there. Kind of highlight some of your highs of being a coach. Give some shout outs to some deserving athletes, man. Yeah. So, I didn't coach the first year. So I came into the second year and I had a really good, anxious group. So my first day, it was fun hearing some of the guys that are their top ones, their leaders coming in, and they just pelleted me with questions, my opinions on all sorts of topics. And just spat out, this is what I think about that. This is what I got to say, the best part about the high school, especially the distance runners, is I guarantee they studied you. I guarantee they knew that. Oh, because runners, we're neurotic. If we're being coached by someone, especially who's fairly young, all right, did they run? Where did they run? What were their times? Yep. What were their PRs? They know more about your history than you probably do. Like, they're probably telling you about races you forgot. The nice part is I think most of my races just missed this internet everything being posted. You guys didn't have Scullions yet? Ed Scullions wasn't a thing. Was he paperback at that time? Was he doing the paper? Kids don't know that. They know mile split. And that's it. Yeah, they don't know anything about Ed Scullions. And Scullions. And Shore Sports was my other. You can still find that. Still doing his thing out there. No, like he's not, but everything's archived, so you can still find it. Nice. So yeah, continue going in with your coaching stuff. Right. So I was boys assistant distance coach. Or assistant coach there. I was in charge of all the boys distance runners, and solid group, found a lot of success right away. First season, we got my first county championship with Roger Hopper in the 3,200. He held off Jackson Memorial. I knew Hopper. I raced against Hopper. Okay. Hopper was a talented kid.
if the race was about 5 meters longer, we were in trouble. I had Roger that year. Tommy Pearson was also my athlete that season. So
Tommy was a good kid. Yeah, Tommy was a buddy of mine too.
But he was my first sectional title winner. He was my first group title winner.
Yep.
So he split a 155 at the Armory that season.
Yeah.
Ran 157 on the flat track. So, right away, saw a lot of success there. Of course, you're making your mistakes and coaching and learning and changing whatever you do over the years. But I think at that point, it was a little bit more towards what I was doing in college, but just tailored back just a hair. And then, I had Anthony Colacerto coming up, Noah Jacobs, Phil Wood. So Anthony county title, state sectional title, Noah won a sectional title. And then I started coaching the girls. So the way that started, the girls coaches asked me to take their distance runners. They only had like 3 or 4 at the time for the day. I'm like, sure, they'll hop in. And then the next day they were there, and I guess I'm a girls coach too. So I had another group come up shortly after that. Danielle Levitt has been one of my most successful athletes. County, shore, state sectional, state group titles. Medaled in the Amita Champs, I think about 4 or 5 times. And then county title with Abby Gauthier in the 32. And now, and then I started moving over to sprints and jumps as well, which was actually an exciting point because it's just becoming a track and field coach as opposed to just those smaller number of events. And we're seeing a group come through now that we're excited about seeing. And, we have a school record recently in triple jump with Anna Roth. And we're excited to see what this group is going to be doing now this year, and then the younger group coming through.
Go ahead, Dave.
I always loved the fact that I got to coach other events rather than just 800, 32, 16 cross country, like coaching jumps, because you really got to see like the whole field aspect of track and field, and then I was coaching hurdles. Like it just makes you appreciate so much more the whole entity of the actual sport.
Yeah, I feel as a coach, sometimes this stuck in an event, sometimes you get a little bit stale. So I think that was really good for me to move over for a little bit to reinvigorate and get you excited, look that energy level up again when sometimes it dips every now and again.
So now, you were just talking and you certainly had a lot of success as a coach over at Lacey, but I feel like, and I don't know if you feel this way, like, coming from Manchester, and even though you guys both came up from Toms River, I feel like Lacey has like a weird place in like the county and conference like hierarchy, because there's a lot of talent that comes from there, but it's like bizarre that like when you think of like the powerhouses and like a lot of like the success, like you don't necessarily think Lacey, and I think that kind of sucks because there's a lot of good Lacey runners. Like it's funny you mentioned Hopper and Pearson because they were younger than me, and I remember I think Tommy took 3rd in the race that I won counties. I think he was right behind me and Monroe Kearns. And
Monroe was the bane of his existence.
Yeah. So Monroe was a sophomore, and I believe Tommy was also a sophomore. Well, I think they were the same year, those two.
Yes.
And I remember that race, and I was, friendly with both of them. And I remember just all 3 of us had the same plan of we're going to sit, we're going to hang, and we're going to go. And both of them, I remember this discreetly, we're going. And I told them, like, I'm going to go at 2. Don't be stupid. And they ended up going at 300 meters. And I was like, thanks, guys. And I just hung on and ended up beating both of them that race. But I remember, and it's just funny you mentioned them because now it's like bringing me back memory lane. And I just always knew those guys were going to end up being like really freaking good. Monroe obviously ran really well at Rutgers. They were both really good. But kind of talk about like, do you feel like Lacey kind of doesn't always get the respect they deserve in terms of when people think about the program? Because it is a really good program. Yeah,
I think we've gone in a little bit of waves. So without that, the people there on the top consistently. You kind of get lost to the Southerns. They're always there. Toms River North, being the larger schools. B South, being the Manchester person, sometimes people get a little surprised to see you at the front and winning these titles when A South thinks they're the king.
Yep. And then they want to be friends with you when it's short conference and you're both trying to be, and it's like, no, we're not friends with you guys. Get out of here.
The B South guys will hang out together.
We have other kick rocks.
I have a little different take because when I was in high school, especially in cross country, B South dominated. Like, we were county champs. Highlands was second. Even Blanchard from Lacey won meet champs my junior year, Steve's senior in XC. So like, B South was like the dominant conference for the 4 years that I was in school. So it's kind of different, but yes, overall, I think that the Lacey's, the Manchesters, even the Point Boroughs, they do get overlooked, but I think almost all of them have had someone who has won meet of champions, which is pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, especially because we're not massive schools. Like, all right, the B South schools are all mid-sized schools. So it is cool. So Steve, you've obviously had a much more uplifting career overall than all three of us. And I think that was nice for everyone to hear. And again, for any of the young runners, don't get bogged down. And, it helps to have a good coach that continues to encourage you. But if you're putting in the work and you're doing the work in practice, it will come together. You also have to stay mentally in and kind of, you didn't touch on that really much, Steve. I just want you to, before we go to other topics, talk about the mental of what that was like. Like, how often were you down on yourself when you weren't running the races you thought you were going to, or were you always kind of a positive guy when it came to this stuff?
I always believed in what I could do and didn't keep those limits as much on myself. So, going into those situations was just put yourself in there, just go with them and you're going to be okay. And that's, again, like high school. Same thing kind of started at college, was I can just latch on. I didn't have to be that guy, and let these guys help you achieve and see what you're capable of. And then, I had a little downtime at Rutgers. I had mono and it was a little struggle coming back, but, it was always believing that it is there, trust the training, and eventually it's going to come out. And, most of the time it did for me.
I will say one thing. You ask anybody in our whole friend group, there is not a more confident person than Stephen Geiger. He always thinks that he's going to come out on top in everything that he does. And it's rare that he doesn't. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, we always say that he has a horseshoe shoved so far up his ass because it doesn't matter if it's fantasy football, if it's anything, he always comes out on top. I mean,
or a belief.
I must have bet him in so many things, and I'm probably down, a couple $1 million, but
Seth Petrozelli, Dave.
Oh God,
Seth Petrozelli.
I thought Kimbo Slice had him, but no.
So let's go in. So nationals, NCAA nationals occurred, and there was a tie at the top. Now, admittedly, all three of us here don't know if the rule we're about to complain about has been in place for a long time. Any listeners listening, if you know more about the NCAA rules, let us know. Comment in, give us something. But so there was a tie at the top. And, Hyatt, you know more about this. I will admittedly did not do my research. Kind of give us the rundown of what occurred and why it's bunk.
From what I can gather, the rule, which I do believe has been in place for a couple years now, it's just never come to fruition because there hasn't been a tie. So NAU and OK State end up tying with 83 points for the NCAA men's championship. So every other time that's ever happened in the past, what do? They go to the sixth man, they go to the seventh man, and where they finish in terms of total, take out all the people who are running as an individual out, that would determine who wins forever in cross country, because it's a team. Like, having depth is paramount.
Yep.
So from what I can gather now, they say, all right, you guys tie, take everybody else out of the whole race, and we're going to score it in terms of it's like a dual meet. You finish first against this team, you get 1 point. Second, you get 2 points. And still just omitting the sixth and seventh runners from the whole equation for everything. So, I mean, that's just, to me, I think it's awful. Like, it takes away the whole role of the sixth and seventh man. And I don't know how this even came to be, but apparently it was voted on and approved by the coaches. So I have no idea. I'm at a loss over how, because if you do factor in how it's always been, OK State wins. So they lost because of this new rule.
So, Steve, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the race, and I mean, for a fan watching this, it was just confusing. So seeing the finish, and I will say the broadcasts now are so much better.
Kyle Merber was awesome. Kyle Merber did a fantastic.
They did a good job, and the live updates of current scores and all that was wonderful. But then you're seeing these athletes finish, and you know how tight it is, and you see the bright orange jersey of Oklahoma State come through, and you see NAU come in right behind there. I'm like, oh, they did it. They came back. They took the win. And then to find out that the scoring is different, it's not the way that, most running fans know it to be. And, it's the rules. So, yeah, congratulations to NAU. They absolutely deserve the win. But, for a fan, I like it the way it's been. I didn't think there was a problem with it. And I wish they kept it. But, it is what it is. That old expression.
I mean, listen.
Go ahead, Dave.
Can't take anything away from NAU. I think they've won like 6 out of the last 8 championships in XC. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. I mean, Nope. I never heard of Northern Arizona University until they just started getting all these guys in and just dominating. And I mean, their coach is tremendous.
Mike Smith doing a great job.
What an amazing program that Mike Smith has created there. It's an absolute juggernaut, And I'm not saying that they didn't deserve to win. They won within the parameters of what the actual rules are. So absolutely kudos to them. I'm just kind of like Steve. Like, I don't understand why there was any need to change it. There was nothing that happened. We're like, you know what? We're going to run 7 guys, but 6 and 7. They really don't mean anything. There is no point. Like, why even run 6? Why not just run 5 guys?
Leave it to the NCAA to screw everything up, because they're really good at screwing up college sports. Like, college sports are great, but when it comes to like rules and things like that, like the NCAA playoff is not great in football. They're hopefully going to get that better. College basketball, men's is 2 halves instead of quarters. To me, always been really stupid. And here we are at one of the, at the biggest race of cross country with the future stars of basically a bunch of different countries coming through. And now we change the rules so that running fans that have been watching running forever don't know who wins. Like, it's pretty dumb. And I have my conspiracy theory. I think that they did this so NAU could win again, because that's my conspiracy theory. They are so happy with NAU success. NAU is being well known. The program's good, and the NCAA rigged it. I'm going with that conspiracy theory. I think we're going to be.
You're on your own there.
We're going to do it. We're going to lead this whole thing. It's not even going to be, guest Steve Geiger. It's going to be NAU conspiracy theory ? And then I'm just going to have Steve's face in like the bottom corner plus Steve Geiger. But no, it's No, in reality, NAU has done a great job. They like you guys all said, they won within the parameters of the rules. Congratulations to them. Like, they are a powerhouse. It's interesting. I did hear about NAU because one of our best guys at Marist, he went to go run some graduate school, and he went over to NAU, and he was like, yeah, they're building something there. He's like, they are getting really fast guys. Like, I'm jumping over there. He's like, I have no chance of finishing top 5. It's just going to be great to train with guys that are going to be amazing. And so that was 2012 he was over there. So that's kind of when they really started building up their program and becoming better in their conference and all that. So congratulations to them. And, OK State, congratulations to them as well, because they're right there. They're knocking on the door. And it's just nice as a running fan to not get, I love Oregon. Oregon has an amazing tradition. But it's really good to not see Oregon there. It's really good to not see Iona there. Stanford. It's really good to not see Stanford there. It's like it's nice to see different teams winning it, and there's a little
Colorado was great when I was younger.
Yeah, it's cool to see some parity there. And again, I'm gonna get tired of NAU at some point, and OK Sal would be like, give me somebody else, and we'll see. But yeah, congrats to NAU. NCAA, you have stupid rules. Stop being yourselves. Get out of everybody's way and let us freaking run the sports the way we know them. Anything else from this? I had my rant.
No, but I do want to ask Steve. Coaching at a smaller school. Not small. You guys are Group 3, but what do you feel about the proposed changes for the MOC qualifications in cross country and track? Like, again, why change something that wasn't broken?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that coaches across New Jersey are kind of speaking out against. The way our sport is designed, it's no reason to, Homedale can handle what we have had. And they're looking about equality or fairness across all sports, whether some of these are not having an all-group champion. So they were looking to get rid of the team title at Meet of Champions, which for one race in a sport, which it's so easy to keep that tradition going. It's mind-blowing that this is even being talked about, but I just don't know what is going on there.
I don't understand the constant, every sport is different. Every sport is unique. Like, you don't have to have the same parameters and rules for every sport. There's no reason why, especially in cross country, like you said, you'll have an individual, but you want to have a team. I just can't comprehend it. It makes absolutely no sense to me in any way.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
You want that representation across all programs, all levels of that sport, in all groups of that sport. And we're really going to be losing out on a lot of the Division I parochial B schools that are used to have that opportunity to be there at that highest level.
It hurts the smaller schools big time, like your Group 1s and your parochial Bs, because, almost every year the top wildcards, they're Group 4, Group 3, occasionally have a Group 2, because they have such larger schools. They have so many more kids to choose from, so many kids who go out for their team, that it's just a much higher probability of that happening. I don't get it. And
and in the end, we've all three have been athletes, generally our whole lives, or most of our lives, and we continue to coach. And being a coach is, you're competitive. Fairness in sports is absolutely bullshit. If you all agree upon the parameters of whatever sport you're competing in, outside of that, the results don't have to be fair. There's no such thing as fair. There's winners and losers. So, and I know we've talked about, we touched on a little bit like the basketball tournament and stuff in Jersey. They got rid of it because of, small schools. Whatever happened to Cinderella stories? Whatever happened to David and Goliath? Now you're sitting there and it's never going to happen. It can't happen now because you took away that ability to do it in quote unquote fairness. And it's like, to me, it's stupid. You win or you don't. And in, cross country, it's all the individual sports, and especially in running, in the sport that we, cover here, there is that chance. You can have a group of really good runners at a really small school where your top guy can finish in the top 15. Then you have just a great pack that finishes within that top 50, and here you go. You're now in the mix. But like you guys said, you're taking away that, the parochials, those smaller schools that do at times have these really good teams, and now it's going to be like, they don't get to be there because it's not fair, because they might get beat up on. It's like the whole entire fairness in sports concept to me is a joke, and I think it's kind of designed by people who probably didn't do many sports or weren't super successful at it. I'm not sure, because no one that's successful is sitting there and looking down and going, well, I really think those little guys didn't have it well because I won the race. It's like, no, we all competed and the winners won and the losers lost. So that fairness in sports concept, it drives me mad. Outside of agreeing upon the rules, if you all agree upon it, it's fair right from that get-go.
True. Yes, I see that side too, and I think you're saying that you don't agree with fairness, but what we're kind of saying is like having it more fair, I guess, was, in my opinion, was allowing through 3 teams from each group to.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm fine with that. And I'm fine. If you finish a certain, like, there should be parameters for each group and they get in and they compete. Right. So, and that's my thing. And like I said, as long as that's all agreed upon, but right here, it's like trying to protect some teams. And that's kind of stupid. You don't need to protect anyone. If they all agree upon the distance, they all agree upon the race. Yeah. Whoever qualifies, go compete, go have at it. And whatever happens, happens. Yeah, no, it's dumb. New Jersey doing dumb things. Steve, any other opinions on it? Because I like to get the guest opinions more. We've been gathering up a bunch of opinions from our guests, from coaches, past competitors, and maybe we'll just make a smorgasbord of highlights and just kind of send it to the New Jersey and be like, here's your coaches and former competitors. Here's what they have to say about it.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that it's stays here. It stops at this point, and more changes that nature are not on the way, and that the coaches, the fans, the athletes do speak up if more and more opportunities are being taken away from them.
How much do they consult you guys when it comes to trying to make these changes? Is there a lot of open dialogue? Do they kind of ask you once and then disregard it just to make you guys feel good? Like, what does it feel like when they're trying to make these decisions?
There appears to be a few less in the room, and there used to be more coaches in that room, and there's far fewer than there used to be.
Makes sense. Make the decisions without the people that it actually affects. Fantastic. All right. On that high note, Hyatt, do you have anything else to ask Steve before we jump out of here?
No, I don't ask anything. I just want to thank him for coming on. After college, Steve became pretty much my best friend. We would hang out every weekend. We all the time. We were always playing golf or watching sports. So he's been a friend of mine for a long time, probably since my freshman year of high school, and it was an honor to come on. And I would like to congratulate him for kicking my fantasy team's ass this week. I'm stuck now with 3 wins, and it was looking really, really good for me until about 4:45, and then I was done on Sunday. So congratulations, Steve.
I appreciate it, and keeping me in that playoff picture.
So I also want to extend thank you to Steve for jumping on again. If anyone can't tell, Dave just needs to keep having his running friends on, because they're, like I said in the beginning, good dudes, coaches, passionate about the sport, and they make a really, it helps them make a really great show. So Steve, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Is there anything or anyone you want to shout out? Maybe, Twitter for Lacey XC or track and field or anything like that?
Oh, I do want to thank you guys for having me on. The Lacey Twitter handle is at Lacey XC. That's simple. And I do also want to give that shout out to Wilfredo on his marathon. To say, it is not a 74.19% age rating, but it is a BQ. Congratulations.
That is great. And again, we are talking in ovals. We are the premier running podcast on the planet. We're going to start saying that, Hyatt. We're throwing it down now. We are the premier running podcast on the planet. No one does it like we do. Now, if you like what you heard, definitely go tell everyone how awesome we are. Go on our socials at Talking in Ovals. And we're going to be back here again next week. Continue to bang out some good shows. And please, everyone, this is going out to you too, Geiger. Get us those PRs from your athletes. Send us your PRs. We are now, I have 3 coaches on here, 4 if we count Jordan. We better be getting some PRs, everyone. We're going to be coming after all of you. All right, everyone. I appreciate you all for listening. We'll be back next week. So long, everybody.